It is budget season, and most near and dear to all school divisions across the Commonwealth is providing our staff with market value salaries. And so it is really important that we know our region and that we are able to identify where we fall in relation to our competitors, because there is a critical shortage in the world of education right now regarding teachers. And so it's essential that salary is one of the key aspects that we're able to bring to the table when recruiting and retaining our staff.
Well, and you can see that statistics show. You can look at what other divisions, comparative size, and in the region are paying.
Absolutely. So we have done a 2022 salary study with an external vendor and analyzed where we are in relation to 16 other divisions whom we compete on a regular basis with for staff. And for our first year teachers and our fifth year teachers, we use those kind of as our ability to measure retention. We have a salary that ranks 16th out of 17, and that is not a source of pride. We have tremendous benefits. We like to believe that we have really strong culture and climate, but you can only ride on those aspects for so long when teachers and educators and support staff are going to the grocery store and they're feeling the angst and pain associated with the increase of cost of living at the pump. And when they're walking out of that store with fewer bags. And so we need to do better. I'm grateful that the House and the Senate of the General Assembly have proposed a 7% increase. Currently, Governor Youngkin has proposed 5%. One of the greatest challenges is that we need to make sure that we are moving beyond just funding for standards of quality positions, because that is just a small sliver of our employment base. So
I guess it's sort of a rethinking for local officials at all levels at this point.
Yes, and I understand the narrative that they're bringing to the table. We are one large puzzle piece of many departments that work within local government, but we are also the largest employer in Caroline with approximately 700 staff members. So we need to have the ability to scale up the endeavors that are being done for other departments for schools. It is more costly. We need to really be pre-planning efforts. I did indicate that we need to change our local funding strategy, and that's going to be collaborative work. We can no longer talk about meeting minimum local requirement. That is setting a floor, not a ceiling. We can no longer kick the can down the road and say next year. We can no longer use a Band-Aid method, where we're patching and we're delaying, because it has dominoed forward and we've reached a point where we need to stop the bleeding and get out of triage mode and move into strategies that yield outcomes that help us maintain our staff and draw in new staff that are available and interested in working in this great rural division.
And when you're dealing with Caroline, Dr. Calvaric, I would think you're dealing with the Fredericksburg area, you're dealing with Northern Virginia, you're dealing with the Richmond area, and then even towards Louisa and even to the west. So you've got some divisions have to look north. Right. You're really looking at everybody.
You're right, Ted. We actually, and I have this right in front of me, so I'll read to you who our competitors are. Because while we are identified by the Virginia Department of Education as Region 3, Region 3 is a really unique geographic area. It is indeed the Fredericksburg, Spotsylvania, King George, Fred City, Caroline area, but it also goes into the Middle Peninsula. And we know that those are not areas that we're regularly competing with. So we have to look within our competitors. And for that, we use King and Queen, Essex, King George, Fredericksburg City, Spotsylvania, Culpeper, Hanover, King William, Orange, Stafford, Goochland, Chesterfield, Louisa, Dinwiddie, Henrico, and Richmond City. And we know that some of those larger localities that are a bit more urban or suburban, they have greater tax bases. And we understand that local composite index states that their local government has the ability to fund more for schools. But we have to come up with a strategy, whether that's a revenue sharing agreement, or whether that is looking at a multi-year approach to increasing salaries. There has to be a strategic plan, and there has to be a commitment to action, because the school board has no taxing authority. And while we're co-equal boards, we really have to have the approval from the Board of Supervisors for appropriation of funding.
That is interesting that you can at least say that maybe we can't do it all this year, but
Right.
to be able to say we're working on it.
Yes, absolutely. Now, I am by law, Code of Virginia requires me to use a process to develop a needs-based budget. That is what I am charged to do. And so, we use an extensive process with our community. We begin really early in the fall, and we start doing walkthroughs of all of our facilities. We start taking budget requests for capital improvement projects. We go to our athletic advisory committee members and we ask, what are the needs that you see in the athletic arena outside of our facilities? We use all of that to inform our capital improvement budget, which is due to the Board of Supervisors in December. And in the interim time, we're shifting into the operational budget, and we're asking all of our actual department heads and our principals to send in their budget requests. They all must align with the 4 goals of our strategic plan. And then we take all of those budget requests, there were 47 this year, and we go to all of our advisory groups: faith leader, parent advisory, teacher advisory, support advisory, student advisory, and we have them start sorting all 47 budget priorities into mandatory by law, critical need, or want. And that is how we start narrowing down to our top 10. We also do a community survey. So in December, we put out all of the budget requests and we said, tell us what your top facility request is. Tell us what your top instructional request is. So all of these 10 items that we've identified in our needs-based budget have been driven by our stakeholders and by data. And so at this stage, when asked, well, if you don't receive all the money, what will you pare back? And I said, I am not at the phase where I feel the school division would be articulating that, because by law, we are required to give a needs-based budget. So we want that entertained first. And then if and when you aren't able to meet that request, the $4.7 million revenue gap, then let's at that time start talking about where we will start carving out some of those needs.
Well, Caroline, Dr. Calvaric, this has been it's a happening place. It's been the type of, and you look at the statistics of graduates and where they're going and what they're doing. I'm sure it breaks your heart to have to. This is the tough part, I would think.
It is.
For the funding, but it's necessary.
It is. It absolutely is essential to the work that we do. And when you have such a focused strategic plan like Achieve 2027, and you've earmarked goals and objectives and measures that help you monitor your success, but then some of that effort is undercut by the lack of funding, then it does become heavy on your heart and your mind. But we still forge forward. Our staff is committed, they are loyal, they are high quality. We just need to make sure that we're able to maintain them. And when we do have a transition, that we can find someone of equal value and experience.